bigger. So the agenda for today is we're going to go over just the intricacies, the ins and outs of a Facebook ad. You're going to learn firsthand from an over-the-shoulder component from an ad expert, the ad expert in our space. And I mean that. Like, this is someone that I've worked with on multiple occasions, still work with, and he's done a lot of ads in the millions of dollars for a lot of the people and marketers that you see in this space, like some big heavy hitters. So this is someone that you're really going to want to pay attention to and shut off all distractions, because you're going to get a lot of value out of this call. In fact, we had talked about charging just for this call, but I said, you know what? We want to give some value and create some real goodwill in the marketplace, and this call is for free. So what I do ask of you is that you pay attention, okay? And for our challengers and our mastermind members, I will provide some bonus content that we'll add in the members area. This will be in there tomorrow, but I'll go over how to use ads to position yourself as a marketing expert in your town. I'm going to go over advanced prospecting so you can generate more business consistently, and then how to connect some of your done-for-you websites so you can generate more leads through those websites, and how to connect with your autoresponder. Because what David is going to go over today, as far as how to drive traffic to your sites, I just want to give you a little bit of insight on how to best set up your website so you can capture the most leads and whatnot. So who I'm going to be introducing is David Schloss, and if I butcher your name, forgive me, brother. But David's going to go over more of his story. I'm not going to take any thunder away from him. But basically, this is someone that has been in this marketing space since 2007, like when Facebook was just with colleges, right? And has managed paid traffic for so many people, big personalities on TV, high-end brands, a lot of influential marketers as well. And as you see, on pace to spend over $40 million on Facebook and in Instagram, over 80 million in the last 3 years. So this is the person that you want to learn. This is the person that people come to that actually do advertising and teach advertising, and they learn from this guy. Okay, so you're learning from this guy, the man. So with that said, are you here, brother? David, are you here?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Awesome, man. How you feeling today?
I'm good, man. Kind of, already took my intro to the next level. I'm like, I don't even have to do this anymore.
Hey, you know what? I think I undershot it. I think I should have put some more on. So
Yeah, there's always a little extra you could put on it, but yeah, it's all good.
Good stuff, man. Hey, so David, like, I've known David for, like, personally at least the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the last time I seen you, David, was right before everything shut down in DC.
Right
you remember
before
that? Like,
yep.
It was wild, man, because it was like everything was so perfect, and then like we went to DC for, what was it, Onyx event? I think it was
Yeah, we were
Onyx.
there like 3-4 days.
Yep, 3-4 days. We went to dinner and everything with a lot of marketers in the space, and then it was like not even a week later, like the world shut down. So
it was 2 days on the dot. 2 days later, everything shut down.
Crazy, man. But it was good seeing you, though, brother. It was really good seeing you, man.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna make you presenter. I'm gonna shoot you the screen right now, and I'll be in the background. So if you need anything from me, just give me a holler. But other than that, just do your thing, man.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
All right, everyone. So before I get things started, I want to make sure you all can see my screen. So if you could just do me one little favor, just let me know if you could see everything. Okay, awesome. Perfect. All right, awesome. So as Jason said, I appreciate you all for being here and getting a chance to dive into my process when it comes to ads. And like he mentioned, I've been doing this since 2007, back when the platform first opened up. So things have definitely progressed in all sorts of directions for many people, I'm sure. But for me, I've seen a lot of the evolution of this platform, both good and bad, over the last 13 plus years. And so with that being said, I'm going to be breaking down how exactly I go about doing research, what I look for in the type of content to create. I mean, and essentially, as it says on your screen, the exact process I use so that you can, experience everything without having any sort of money, any headaches, but also saving you time and money. I want you to create winning campaigns so that your clients are happy, you're happy. I'm trying to make this as stress-free as possible for you all. So with that being said, and just so everyone knows, I was on pace to spend 30 million in ad spend this year. We're actually now on pace to spend 45. That kind of gives you an idea of just how much scale the business has had in helping clients, grow their businesses in just this year alone, even when things are a little crazy. So we'll make this really quick because Jason did a great job of saying how awesome I am. So I've been running ads on this platform since 07. That's actually the same year that I began doing everything on this platform, was around 2007. It was only for college students, and then it started to open up a lot more over that time span to more and more people who essentially wanted to grow their businesses. But at first, it was all about just connecting people, right? That was always the core thing with Facebook, is how can we connect more people? But as the platform came online, not many people were even aware of it. It took several years before Facebook really came to what it is today. And so the heyday for many people on this platform would be around 2011 through 2013. That's when mass adoption of this platform really happened. And that's when I'm sure many of you even started to hear about this platform and what was possible with it. So I've done advertising on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all sorts of retargeting networks, and Facebook just happens to be the one that I enjoy the most. It's the one that I've had the most success. I've helped a lot of people over the years manage 7-figure and even 8-figure businesses, and my largest client ever was actually a $1 billion company on the NASDAQ. So it's like we have experience from all walks of life when it comes to advertising, both myself and my team that's been working with me for quite a few years now. And so, as I mentioned, in 2019, we actually spent about 40 million on Facebook and Instagram, and we're actually on pace to do about 45 million this year. It was going to be 30. We thought COVID would knock things down. Funny enough, actually, people started to scale a lot more, and I've already spent well over $100 million on the platform in just the last 4 years. So a lot of what I'm going to be sharing with you is based off of basically the last 4 years of running ads, because a lot has changed in the last 4 years. So let's just talk about the old way versus the new way of doing things, because there is an old and new way. So Facebook is the largest network. It's well over 2 billion active users now at this point. And yes, you're thinking, how are there 2 billion people on this network? Well, some of us has more than one profile. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about that before. But essentially, a large portion of this age demo is between 25 to 45. That's been the primary. It's actually continued to get higher. And for those of you who are like, why is the network getting more and more just older? Well, think about it this way. When I first joined Facebook, I was 18. I'm 32. I've evolved with the platform. So the user base that all started back then have actually continued to get older. So many of us have grown with this platform. So naturally that primary age range has continued to get older as well. When it first started, it was primarily people between the ages of 18 to 25. Then it became 18 to 32, and then it just got older over time. So you'll notice that as you are promoting more and more on this platform, especially if you're promoting to a demographic that's, let's say, 35 and over, the majority of your traffic is actually going to come from people directly on Facebook versus, let's say, maybe they're on Instagram, which we will talk about shortly. Now, with that being said, there's millions upon millions of businesses on this platform, primarily roughly around 50 million plus businesses. A lot of people have more than one business, so they're promoting it all throughout Facebook and Instagram to the best of their ability. And it's great for brand loyalty. It's great for reputation. Obviously, it offers advertising. It just allows you to interact with your audience. And it has great back-end analytics tools to show you exactly who you need to target, why you should target them. It even tells you whether or not they spend certain money in various categories on the network. So there's a lot to work with that, you'll be able to utilize to the best of your ability and truly make the most of it when it comes to advertising. Now, Instagram is different in a way because it is owned by Facebook. It was brought onto the network several years ago, and I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago it really started to take shape, and it went from just an app to this massive network. And the majority of Facebook users are starting to adopt Instagram more. You'd actually be surprised that not everyone that has a Facebook profile has actually set up an Instagram. Now it's almost become the thing that everyone does, which is they automatically set up both either way. Now, the majority of the user base is 18 to 35, and it's actually primarily women in that age range. So if you're selling a lot of product, let's say you're an e-commerce store, you'd actually find that Instagram will do very well for you, especially if the base that's buying from you are women, right? Has a lot of photo sharing capability. Video is huge on the platform. Now you have Reels, you have IG Live, you have IGTV for longer form. They're really expanding the network because they truly see that the younger demo is going to be using Instagram far more often than Facebook, whereas the older demographic is going to be using Facebook. And even I at 32, I'm primarily on Facebook, but when I'm selling product, I find myself on Instagram quite a bit, because if you could find a way to sell on both, you're going to maximize quite a bit of profits along the way. It's fantastic for branding, and the imagery and video can tell a lot of stories on the network. But let's look at this a little deeper. I'm sure a lot of you have done quite a bit of engagement on the platform, and many of us in the very beginning of advertising on either Facebook or Instagram, or putting up content on Facebook and Instagram, realized that it was all about followers in the beginning, right? How can we get more followers? How do we get more people to talk to us? It was all forced, right? I need followers, I need likes, I need sales. And all you would do is just talk to your audience, right? You would just put stuff out there, people would see it. You know, this was the heyday of organic growth. You put something up there and everyone would see it. But it was all about quantity. I need more content out there. I need more likes. I need more. That's all people wanted, was just more. And so the entire focus was you, right? Focus is on me, what I'm doing, how I'm smart, why I'm awesome, why I'm an expert. That's all it was. And so because everything was about you, if people loved you for who you are, no problem. They'll buy your stuff. They'll download whatever you're putting out there. But it's what's in it for me. That was the whole purpose of Facebook and Instagram in the beginning, was just look at me. Now it's a bit different. I find that a lot of it is based upon communicating, listening to, and having conversations with your audience versus you forcing it and making them find a way to converse with you. Now you're the one doing all the outreach, right? So essentially the organic growth portion is from people who like what it is that you're communicating about. What is it that you're talking about? So it's a listen first, then respond environment. What I mean by that is you see what it is that your audience wants, what it is they're looking for, and then naturally you put stuff out there that fits that mold. If someone wants to learn more about advertising, you put more advertising related content out there. How do you know? You ask questions. You see what people are looking for. So instead of quantity of likes and followers, now we're looking for quality. You often hear about how there are people with millions upon millions of followers or millions of likes on their pages, and yet they can't generate sales. But there's a mom and pop store with 20,000 followers on their Instagram, and yet they can generate 6 figures in sales from that quote unquote small following. So it's more of a focus on building a loyal fan base, right? Your group of 10,000 fans that love you, or 20,000 fans that love you, because that will go much further along as you continue to build your business than just trying to go for quantity. And this is all relevant to advertising, because the way you put your content out there is going to be focused more on the audience versus you. And so what does my audience want to know about? How can I add value to their busy day? Because essentially the way that I look at ads is that everyone who's taking time out of their day to buy something from me is doing it, one, out of the kindness of their heart, but also they're taking time away from family, they're taking time away from their job, or maybe even their own business. You all here, I appreciate you all for being here, because you're taking time out of your day to learn what I do for a living, which is running ads. And so I value that far more now than I would have, let's say 5-10 years ago, when it was all about, hey, I run ads, I'm fantastic, you should buy everything I put out there, here's the button. I would never give any sort of reasoning behind doing that. Now I listen to what people want, and I make sure I create it based upon what it is they're looking for. So it's what's in it for you, or in this case, them, the audience you want to sell to. So keep this in mind. I'm not going to go through all this in too much depth, but look, it's all about conversations, recognition, and feedback. Okay, these 3 key things are what people look for on this network. They don't want to feel that they're not being listened to. They don't want to feel like they're not being heard. They don't want to feel like the feedback that they give or the critiques that they give are being ignored. Essentially, you're focusing on dialogue. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this before. It's like Facebook is about conversation. If I put an ad out there, you're essentially creating a conversation with someone. You're stopping them in their tracks, or the conversation they're having with someone else, in hopes that you could pull their attention towards you. That's the name of the game when it comes to ads. Who can grab the most awareness and attention on the network to drive traffic to their site? Same thing goes along the lines of, if you want local clients and you want to go after those who own those businesses, those people need to be stopped in whatever they're doing on Facebook in that 20-minute window they're online, or an hour-long window they're online, and you need to be able to stop them in what they're doing, grab their attention, and hopefully get them to click. And that's why the conversation needs to be started. Recognition comes along as you continue to run more and more ads, so you're paying attention to what your audience is doing, what they're talking about, and they start to recognize you more as you put stuff out there. You don't have to just comment on people's stuff all the time. It could be that they comment on yours first, and then you just start that conversation as well. So the more they recognize your brand, the more that they see it, the easier it becomes for them to eventually and hopefully go and look into more what it is you're doing. And the feedback is more of just being receptive to what it is that people are putting out there about your brand, or what it is that you're putting out there in terms of the content, and being okay with it, right? Some people are going to love it, some are not. It's all about being responsive to that feedback, because some of the best campaigns we've ever run are actually, or when people might be writing something negative, because some people just don't want to see ads at all. But when there's a negative response and we just respond in a very kind-hearted way and tell them this is how things are meant to be done, we oftentimes will see people like us even more and follow us even more because of how we respond back to negativity, or people trying to be on the offensive with our content and we're trying to be defensive, but come to a happy medium. We don't cause any issues, and people tend to say, I like what this company represents, or even this personal brand. But here's another two things to keep in mind. Authenticity and emotion are crucial. People want to recognize a brand and be a part of a brand, or buy from a brand that seems authentic, right? You're using a tone that's yours. You communicate in a way that is how you would communicate to everybody. You share content that's exciting to you, even if it's about your business. You can have a real estate business and you can be a realtor showing houses. There's nothing wrong with talking about the housing market and why this house is amazing and why you love what you do and how you've helped first-time home buyers essentially get their first home in record time. There's nothing wrong with talking about what you do often, because people want to work with others who truly love what they do. So when you're going after clients in terms of the local market, yes, you want to put something out there about helping them grow their business, putting automation in place, helping them with advertising. There's all sorts of ways you can do that, but they have to connect to you somehow. And it could be that they connect to you because of how passionate you are about what you do, or maybe you're passionate about something else. I've had people work with me all because I love a certain basketball team, or the fact that I'm from a certain city, or the fact that I went to a certain college. I've had quite a few people work with me just because of that, versus the results I've gotten others in the past from running their advertising. So the more they can relate, the better. And then with emotion, that's more revolved around how you're putting your content out there, right? Are you using curiosity, humor, interest, wonder? Are you generally positive? And are you creating engagement? Are you sharing images and video? These are all things that matter, not just from an advertising standpoint, but from an organic standpoint. When you're putting things out there on your profile, on your fan page, on your Instagram page, is it something that's going to grab people's attention, or are you just simply selling all the time? And if you're selling all the time, well, you're not going to get that many sales. So this matters not just from your own content, but also your profile. You want to keep things short and sweet. You want to mix up your images and videos. If you're going to use direct links, make sure it's something that your audience can click and check out on your site. You don't want to be sending them to other people's stuff all the time. Make sure it's yours. And you want to do this in a variety of formats, meaning short video, long video, short content, long content. Things are on blog posts, YouTube videos. You mix it up. The more you mix it up, the better. If you keep creating the same content over and over, it gets blind. I had a moment where I was creating too many case studies, and then naturally I saw people paying less and less attention to my case studies, so I had to switch it up. Now I only post a case study maybe once a quarter, whereas before I used to post 2 case studies a month. In the beginning, that was powerful, and it started to lose its luster, as I was doing it too often. So you have to pay attention to what it is that's going to keep people engaged, both from a personal profile or your business pages. So when you're creating your content, remember, how could I add value? How can I make these audience members' days better or easier? Because it does matter. How do you delight your audience or make them excited for whatever it is you're putting out there? And what can I do to put a smile on their face? Truly, this matters. If you're putting an ad out there that gets someone to laugh, it gets them a result that hopefully they're looking for. You know, you could put something in their business that helps them increase their bottom line by 15%. Maybe that's something they've wanted or they've been thinking about for a while. You just happen to be there with a hilarious ad and you have great copy. Maybe you're smiling on screen. Maybe you're doing a video. All those things matter. People are looking for that when they are working with someone. So when you're putting these ads together, remember, you got to keep track of these things. How often is your brand mentioned? And you want to make sure that you're sharing your company's content on social media. And by your company, I mean you or the people within your business. There's nothing wrong with highlighting awesome people in your business as well. You want to make sure that you're tracking that traffic from social media, whether it's from Facebook or Instagram or any other network. And then you want to track the activity, comments, direct messages, likes, shares, so on and so forth. Because the more you could track which content works well, the more of it you can create. When I saw that case studies would generate me anywhere between 100 to 200 reactions, and then it would also lead to possibly 2 to 4 clients at a time, of course, in the beginning, I created a ton of case studies. But then when I started to notice it wasn't as effective, I had to change up the strategy, and then I tracked what other content would lead to people DMing me or sending me email or opting into my list. So you have to track these things in order to truly understand what needs to be created effectively. Quality over quantity. Okay. So with that being said, let's just go right into it. Let's find and understand your audience's every detail. Okay. So Facebook gives you a lot of information you could work with when it comes to the audience insight. Now, audience insights allows you to leverage Facebook's data to discover other pages that you could possibly market to, not just the pages themselves, but the people who follow those pages or essentially like. So keep this in mind. These people have either come from other websites or they've liked other pages, or it's a combination of both. Facebook's putting this data together to allow you to see, what are the similarities between the brands that people follow? What is it that gets them to come back to the site, click around, follow different types of individuals on the network, watch different types of content. It's a giant aggregate amount of information that you get the benefit from, because at the end of the day, you're looking to scale, right? So all this data works in your favor. So Facebook gives you this tool called the Audience Insight tool. I don't know how many of you have used it. I've used it way too much over the years, but it's still there. And it just really gives you a baseline of what is working and what is available, right? And what I mean by that is this. In your business manager, for those of you who've never set up a business manager, just go to facebook.com/business or business.facebook.com, and that'll open up the option for you to set up a business manager. I highly suggest you set one up if you haven't yet, because you need it in order to run ads the right way. If you use a personal account, they will eventually shut it down. Make sure you set up a business manager. So in your business manager, in the top left, there's this little grid. Mine usually will say ads manager. Other people might say something else. If you're looking at billing or payment methods or anything like that, it'll say that. But you're looking for the 3 little lines in the top left. And when you select it, you'll see a section that says plan, and then it'll say audience insights, and you want to make sure to click that. And then it opens up essentially a graph or chart that looks like this. And this is all going to vary based upon what it is you're looking for, right? So as you're plugging in a location or age or gender, or you're typing in different interests, this graph will change. It'll change based upon how many women are in the audience, how many men are in the audience, the age breakdown, how large the audience may be. And so for those of you who target nationally, it's always set to the US or the country that you're in. So if you're in the UK, it's going to be set to the UK. If you're in Canada, it'll say all of Canada. It won't even pinpoint specific areas in Canada. It'll just open it up to the whole country. So you have to keep in mind, when you are in this tool, it's going to be set to a default, and then you got to set it to where you want to advertise. So if I'm trying to pick up clients in, let's say, the state of Florida, I have to type in the location as Florida first, and then put in the rest of the detail that I'm looking for. And this is important, especially if you're looking for highly localized clientele. Because I work with a lot of people both in the US and overseas, primarily in Europe, I oftentimes will look at data for both sides. I'll look at the US only, I'll look at all of Europe, or maybe even certain countries in Europe where I get a lot of business. So once you plug in your location, you want to adjust the age to where most of these people may be if you're looking to work with them. For example, a lot of my client base is over the age of 35, right? So I actually would set my age to 35 plus if I want to advertise primarily to those people. If you find that you have some possibility of signing on someone who's of a lesser age, let's say 28 or more, then you could set the age to 28 and above and go from there. Same thing with gender. Do you work with men or women or both? And then with interest, this is where most people pay the most attention. This is where you're plugging in essentially the keywords or the pages that people are typically following in your space. So when I am looking for people interested in advertising, as an example, I would typically start with something like this. I would type in the who's who of the industry first, right? So in our space, it's Frank Kern and Russell Brunson and Ryan Dyson, all these people, right? Those are the personal brands. But then I would also do the same thing when it comes to something such as general terms, right? Social Media Examiner, Social Media Today, because a lot of people looking into advertising are reading social media sites as well. I could plug in general terms like advertising or digital marketing. But every time you do that, it's going to shift around the demographics. But the place that you want to be looking at the most is this section where the arrow is pointing right now. It's called page likes. This is essentially Facebook's opportunity to give you ideas as to what people are commonly looking at or reading or searching for when they are also a part of the interests you've plugged in. So for example, people who are following Social Media Today, Social Media Week, Social Media Explorer, not only do they follow those pages and those terms, or they are related to those terms on the network, but they also seem to like and read from these pages, right? So you'll notice Social Media Today is there, and then you'll see Social Media Examiner, and then you'll see Mashable, and there's just ideas, right? Moz, Nextiva, like it just gives you ideas as to what tools they're using, what other publications are they reading, what people are they following. Great part is that now you could take this information, go to the interest section on the left, plug those in, and it continues to change the information that comes up here. Essentially, this is just like using keyword tools. You're just plugging in more ideas, and the more ideas you plug in, the more it spits back at you. So Facebook will say, well, now that you've added in Mashable, it changes the results. Now that you've added in Hootsuite and Marketo, it's going to change the results again. They're all related terms. This is essentially what they're telling you is these same exact pages or interests are all similar in nature. And if you notice that the more you plug in, the page likes don't change, well, then you're actually just targeting a lot of the same people. And so that means you're on the right path. Now, if you're going after local businesses, there's a behavior called small business owners where you can cut down a lot of your research and it will just focus on people who classify themselves as small business owners on the network. Now, keep this in mind. Not everyone who says they're a small business owner actually owns a small business. We've all learned that the hard way. So in order to make sure you get in front of the right people, I always suggest maybe you throw in something such as small business owner, and then you might layer it with something like maybe they're in a certain industry, right? So if they're in the insurance space, or if they're in real estate or chiropractic, you can layer those two together. Because if you just do the local business, chiropractic, dentist, realtor, you'll get a lot of people who don't actually own the business. You'll get a lot of people who are just that profession. And sometimes they're not the ones with the money. So you have to make sure if you use the small business owner behavior, as they call it, that you also layer it with something, so then you don't get possibly unqualified people following your stuff. You want to make sure to adjust it accordingly. Now, you could just target small business owners. As a whole, it's millions upon millions of people. You could just target the job titles or the industry and then go from there and filter along the way. It's all testing. I oftentimes like to do the broad category, so small business owner, or the profession, the job title, even the industry, and I'll let my funnel or my call people, anyone who's making the calls for me, filter through and find those qualified people for me. That way, I could just let the ads run and optimize, and then the more lead flow we get or the more applications we get, the better the advertising will perform over time. But this is where it all starts. You have to do your research using the Audience Insight tool. It at least gives you an idea of what you need to use for interests, and we'll do a walkthrough of how to set up your ads in a moment. Now, if for any reason you're not sure what to use as your audience targeting, well, remember, you have interests, which are essentially people's hobbies or pages they like or what they're interested in. You have behaviors, which I just mentioned. You have things such as small business owners or their consumer classification. Do they buy a lot of high-end stuff? Do they buy low-end stuff? Are they primarily mobile users on iPhones or Android? Are they people who are expats? Do they travel a lot for business? There's all sorts of purchase behavior, device usage. Basically, what are they typically doing on a day-to-day? And that's where the behaviors come into play. If you use a behavior, it can cost a little more, but it does allow you to pinpoint specifically who it is that you want, right? So if a behavior can help you in your search for a qualified client, it's definitely worth using. Connections are a little different. So connections are essentially you being able to connect your fan page or an audience that you may have built through a page or an event. You know, there's the event option where, you know, if you get hundreds of people attending an event on Facebook, you know, you'll be able to utilize that data as well. But connections is you being able to reach people who are already connected to a fan page, an app, or an event that you've created. The one that advertisers love the most are custom and lookalike audiences, right? So custom audiences are essentially all the emails or phone numbers you may have of people who've bought from you, opted in for information, attended a seminar or webinar or whatever it may be, and you can use that information to create audiences. And lookalike audiences are essentially using a source audience, emails or phone numbers, to create audiences that are similar to or relevant to the people that are already buying from you or on your email list. The reason why people love lookalikes so much is you can imagine if you've had 1,000 people buy from you and you're creating a lookalike of all those buyers, essentially you're hoping that Facebook's creating an audience of more people who have a higher likelihood of buying from you. And this is super powerful because you can create all sorts of audiences and basically remove all the guesswork, right? That's always the goal of the lookalike, is to remove as much guesswork as possible. Location targeting, we've already talked about that. It's just where it is you plan on targeting your advertising. You can actually add up to 25 countries per ad, or you could just target the whole world. Like, that's how in depth you can go. If you want to do worldwide targeting, you can. You could just go ahead and plug it all in. And then from there, you can do a combination of all this, right? You could do countries and cities, states and cities, zip code only, radius, right? So you can decide on a specific address and even put a 1 mile radius around it. You can get very detailed with this information, so you never have to feel like you can't go after someone that you want to target, right? If you can actually go after, as an example, you could be at an event in, you know, in the city. I'll just use Miami, Florida, as that's where I was born. You can actually put the address of the convention center you're at and then put a 1 mile radius around it and target every person at the convention center. It's possible. It's been done. So Facebook gives you the possibilities that you've been looking for. You just may not know they were there in the first place. So if you're utilizing all this correctly, you have plenty of options to find the right interest to target. Or if you're someone who's looking for more of a shortcut, that's where the custom audiences and lookalike audiences are going to work in your favor, because you don't have to do any guesswork. You could just plug in the information you have and go from there. If you've bought lists, just going to give you a warning, Facebook does not like if you've bought lists and you load them as custom audiences, mainly because they're not yours. So if you are already thinking of doing that, probably not a good idea. Just putting that out there for you. So with that being said, let's just get right into starting Facebook ads. If you've never run an ad before, I want to be able to walk you through how exactly you need to do that. And before we get started on creating your first ad, or creating your first converting ad, I should say, we have to keep this in mind. Facebook wants certain things on their network. The whole thing Facebook wants from you is to create an improved user experience. So what I mean by that is, if all you're doing on Facebook is posting negativity, or you're only talking about one subject and you're not communicating with anyone but yourself, meaning you're just posting and you're not having any engagement with others, you're not improving the user experience. They see this, they track this. All that data that I said is so important in advertising for yourself and your business is also how they're tracking you to see what type of person you are on the network. So if you're a very active individual, you're communicating with others, you're using Messenger, you're on Instagram and Facebook, you're using Facebook pages, you're doing all this, you look like a great citizen on the network. They also look at you as someone who's improving the experience. It does benefit your ads. So you have to ask yourself, would I think this campaign improves the Facebook user experience or detracts from it? So when you're creating something, you have to actually decide on whether or not what you're putting out there is adding any value. There are ads that have been shut down for poor user experience or low quality advertising, as Facebook would call it. So remember, when you're putting something out there, if it's just all about selling and the ad itself is just say, buy my stuff for 30 bucks a month, and there's really no value to the ad that you put up or the post you put up, they will let you know that it's low quality, and they will actually devalue the advertising dollars you're putting behind it. They'll make sure that no one sees it. So trust is most important on this network. It's also what the policy team wants to see. They want to see trust. How do they see trust? Well, people talking awesome about you. They're rating your page with 5 stars. You're getting a lot of engagement on your ads or on your content. You're not hiding people. You're not deleting or banning people from your page. That typically leads to them looking a little closer into what it is you're doing, because why else would you be banning a lot of people? So remember, don't use images that have nothing to do with the offer or ad copy. You'd think that's very, very general and everyone knows that. Well, you'd be surprised. If I'm talking about Facebook ads and it's a picture of just a dog, unless the picture has something relevant to the ad copy, what's the point of using that picture of a dog, right? They want to see things that are relevant to what you're talking about. So if you're talking about your business and it's a picture of you and your team, perfect. If you're talking about chiropractic and it's a picture of a chiropractor, awesome. There has to be some sort of connection there. Also, don't create ads that use fear or hype. Yes, they can be approved, but that doesn't mean you're adding any value to the network, which, remember, is what they want. And if you're not adding any value to the network, it's very easy for them to just, well, ban you or lock your account, because they only want people who are adding value. Now, another thing to keep in mind, don't create landing pages that don't disclose your business model. What do I mean by that? So when you're creating a page on your favorite platform, whatever that may be, you might decide to put together essentially a page where it's promoting whatever it is that you plan on, promoting or getting people to opt in for, or maybe they want to get on a webinar with you. But at the very bottom of that landing page, you usually will see something like a copyright or something along those lines, where it's like this, copyright 2020, here's a contact us link, maybe an about us link, and that's it. Well, you forgot to disclose what your business model is. If you go to a landing page and it has a footer at the very bottom and you see maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs of small text, that's what they mean by disclosing your business. You're not only providing a disclaimer, but you have a privacy policy, the terms and conditions. There's a place for someone to contact you. There's a little snippet about your business. Maybe even in some cases we do this, we actually put the business location address, not the physical address, but maybe a box, a PO box, and where we're located. Because what we're doing is we're disclosing to Facebook that we're a legitimate business. We are making sure that people understand why they're here and what they get. We're also making sure that there's a policy that says we're not going to spam, and we're not just collecting and hoarding data to be sold later. This is what they look for. Most people don't even know that you have to do that. So make sure you're disclosing that business model. And if you ever need an example of what that looks like, I'll make sure to provide it to Jason so he can share it with you all. And then lastly,
David, really quick on that, man, sorry to interrupt. What he just said is really, really important, to make sure that you disclose everything, like simply having a privacy policy, a way to contact you. I've had ads that it was above water and everything I was doing, but for some reason it was not getting approved, or some ads were being disapproved after running. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And turns out it was exactly what he mentioned. So make sure that you have, the address and the terms of service, your privacy policy on those pages. And really quick, David, just to go back a slide, you can stay here though. This is a little bit self-serving, but it may help some people on this call. You mentioned that Facebook, and I guess it's in terms of service too, that you can't buy lists and upload them. I've never done that, but let me tell you what I've done before. I
Mm-hmm.
have scraped lists before from like a scraper and I've uploaded them.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is there a way that Facebook knows or somehow they can identify that this isn't authentic data? And is that worse than buying a list, or is it viewed on the same playing field, such as buying a list and then getting it from a scraper? Just curious.
All right, so I'm gonna put my black hat on for a minute.
Okay.
You and I both know that this is the type of stuff I can't be saying in public. So it's true. I'm not supposed to talk about this, but this is what I would do. If you're scraping lists, what you have to remember is that if other people have access to this tool and they have the ability to essentially scrape from the same location as you have to make sure your list is unique in some way. So let's say, for example, Jason, you and I are both scraping dentists in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or Atlanta, Georgia, or any major city, right? We're going to scrape the same data. We have the same phone numbers, the same emails, the same everything. So in order to make sure that yours is unique, you might get that list of, let's just say for easy numbers here, you get 1,000 businesses, you get their phone numbers and emails, maybe you even get the emails of the people who might own that practice. You want to make sure that you break apart the list into maybe 2 segments of 500 and 500, or maybe you have one list at 750 and the other one's 250. Because if everyone loads the same list of 1,000, they're going to track it. They could see that there's multiple people loading the same list of 1,000 in multiple accounts. It has the same name and email. Everything's the same. So usually when I am working with any list, I am only working with the emails, or I'm only working with phone numbers, and then I'm breaking apart those lists. That way it looks unique, right? Because like I said, if it looks too much like everyone else's, well, it's an easy way for them to track it, right? And then if we take that one step further, you can also, let's say you're going to work with larger lists, because I work with a lot of national companies, then you're going to break it apart even further, right? So it could be 5 lists, 10 lists, and then you're not going to load them all in the same day. So you might do 2 lists today, 2 tomorrow, and then wait a day and then do another 4, right? You don't want to create the same pattern as everyone else. And I might even delete 10 or 15 emails just to make it so that the lists aren't all the same, right? This is how a lot of people who use scraping tools are able to get by. And same thing with buying a list. If you do buy a list, you got to make sure that you change up the list enough to where Facebook can't see that it's the same list that hundreds of other people have bought. So that's just something to keep in mind.
That's gold, man. Thank you. So make it unique, because what I'll usually do is like I'll make a similar audience, like a lookalike audience, off of the list. But yeah, but as far as editing that's super helpful. So thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. So with that being said, it's really just a matter of, disclosing the business. Don't use fear and hype. I mean, the last one is more of, not many people do this anymore, but if you remove player controls from your videos on your sales pages or your business pages, you basically, the minute you start a video, you don't allow someone to do anything other than pause, your page will get denied. You want to give people the ability to control whether they go backwards or forwards or skip or whatever, because one, you want to allow the user to have the experience that works for them. Facebook does start to shut down ads, not accounts, but they shut down an ad or reject it if they notice that the page that's being promoted over time hasn't given people the ability to determine whether or not they watch a video all the way through or pause it for that matter. So just keep that in mind. Now, here's the best content for Facebook, which essentially is the same type of content you're going to use in your ads. Video, photos, and long form written content. Video is the king. They basically work in all sorts of different industries, and I know plenty of people don't want to create video or they don't want to be on camera, and that's fine. Just pointing out where our data suggests that a lot of people who put attention on this tend to get the best result. Now, we're finding that story-based content does amazing, right? Overcoming an obstacle, talking about where things were before working with someone, achieving a goal, so on and so forth. An example, some of the best ads we've created for our clients are ones where we, let's say, bring in a testimonial, and the person who's giving that testimonial says something about like what their experience was like before working with the company, what it was like during, and what happened after. And the before part is important because they'll mention things like, oh, we worked with other companies and we never could get results. And then we found Jason, and all of a sudden Jason changed our life because he put some things in place in our business where our bottom line grew by 30%. And now we have a business that just runs on its own, and we're extremely happy, right? Before, during, after. Same thing with overcoming an obstacle. When COVID hit, this sort of thing happened. We had to change the whole business. We decided we're not going to fire anyone, and we're going to make some changes. Now our business is booming, and we're incredibly happy with how things are going ever since we started working with Jason, right? That's an example. This type of story content can be done on your own. You could talk about the stories, you could talk about those testimonials, or you can have others do the storytelling for you. All right, that's another thing to remember. Especially with testimonials, you're not getting on camera, someone else is. Also, live streams are incredibly underutilized, which I always found interesting. When you go live on your profile, especially if you are live in front of people who are not just your fans, like a lot of the people who actually are requesting friendship or following my page, my personal page, are actually people who are just looking into what it is that I do. What type of content am I putting out? Do I have any courses? Do I have any services? They're just looking and trying to get an idea for what it is that I do and the type of stuff I put out there. So if you're only adding friends or family as friends to your profile, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. That's why when you engage more with groups and you're talking to other business owners, you notice like your network is growing more and more and more. So when you go live on your profile, or you go live in your group, if you're building one, you'll notice that it actually benefits everything else that you're doing, because all of a sudden those people who've seen you on a live and they got to interact with you more, when they see an ad of yours pop up in the feed, they're also the same person who might like, comment, or share what you put out there, especially if they talk amazing about you. Jason decides to go live in his group and you guys get a ton of value from it, and then you see an ad of his in your feed, you're going to support him. You're going to give him a like or a love or a care reaction. You're going to make sure that he gets something from all that work too, because he wants to make sure that he's providing value to people on the network, and you want to support him along the way because he's helped you out too, right? So video does really well. And notice I didn't say anything about selling. We're talking about stories, and we're talking about just getting in front of the people who are looking for whatever it is you offer. Now with photos, it's a little different. Photos, you can be with influencers in your network or in your space. You can have photos with your team. You can have photos at events. Like I've used a lot of photos of me at events with tons of people over the years, but some of the best photos I use are just of results, right? So even with a chiropractor, they'll take pictures with people that they are with in their business and just be like another happy customer. Or if it's a dentist, someone smiling, taking a picture with that person, right? You can offer this advice to not just to the person you're running ads for or helping them build their business, but think of it this way. You want to put that image out there, especially for the people you're looking to target. If they see a picture of a dentist with a happy customer and you're targeting dentists, they're going to see the relationship there. They're going to be like, I want more of that. And it automatically connects with them. So when we're using photos, we want to make sure that it's something that would attract the person who needs more of it as well, right? Like I said, with a dentist or a realtor, it could be a realtor in front of a house they just sold, has a sign that says sold. I'm going to use a picture of that to target other realtors because it's what they want more of. And honestly, the first 1 or 2 lines of the ad might say, don't you wish you would see more of these sold signs on the lawns that you're selling or the houses you're selling, right? You're just pinpointing what the end result is. But my absolute favorite is long form written content. For me, it works for me. I like to talk about top 5, top 7, top 10 type of strategy. I like to talk case studies and break things down in depth. This could be done in other industries, especially if you're in a highly technical industry that you are trying to grab clients from. They want to understand your knowledge. They want to understand what you know. So the more in-depth the ad is, the better quality person that will communicate with you or opt in or book a call with you. Now, it requires a lot more work. It's going to require a lot more testing because you might find that less people will click, but those that come in from reading your long form content are some of the best quality leads you can get. That's why I like writing very detailed case studies and as well as long form strategy type of content. People do read 2,000 words on Facebook. I've proven this over and over and over. It's a long blog post that they are reading on the network. You don't have to write that much. You can write 500 words, 300 words. I just have written what seems like a book chapter before, and I've noticed some of the people who've come in from reading those posts are some of the best people I've worked with. So keep that in mind. It has to fit what it is that you're comfortable with. I love video in a sense of I could do it quickly. I'm okay with being on camera. If I don't want to be on camera, I can hire someone to do it for me. I'll just create the scripting for them to work with. But the easiest thing for anyone is going to be photos. You can have photos done by yourself if you know Photoshop, or if you're just going to use pictures that represent something that you found maybe from a stock photo site, or maybe it's something you've done on the job or anything like that. Easy. It's the easiest things to create. But once again, my favorite's long form written content because that's how I get people to pay attention to my stuff. If you still need more content ideas, there's a lot more you can work with, right? You got competitors' blogs, you got guest post content, you got frequently asked questions, which a lot of people underestimate, because if there's a lot of common questions in your space, this is what you want to have answered, right? Especially, once again, I'll use realtors. First-time home buyers have a lot of questions that they need to have answered before they even look into homes. So if you're helping realtors with their automation, one of the things that you can recommend to them is answering the common questions that their clients may have. Now, same thing might come along with if you are targeting realtors as potential clients. What are the common questions they have? How can you help me get more buyers or sellers? How can you help me attract a better quality customer that's looking to sell their home now? How can you help me automate my follow-up? FAQ. That's how you're going to make sure that people pay attention more to you, because now they see that you're taking care of their problems and you're the solution. Recording interview experts or even having a podcast may not be something that you're looking to do from a sense of monetization, but it's more towards a network builder. I've done a podcast. I have about 40 something episodes. Every person that I've interviewed, surprising enough, I don't pitch them on anything, but it's a great reminder to them of what I do, because we talk about business, we talk about advertising, we talk about money management. And the more I get to know this person or a group of people, the more they remember what it is that I do. It's actually led to a lot more business just because of the fact that I'm now top of mind. So if you're going to start, really exploring an industry, you also want to be talking more to people in that space, especially when it comes to things like getting more business, right? Whether it's like helping generate more clients and customers for other businesses, or even just doing it for yourself. Now, keep this in mind. Saying thank you to people is huge when it comes to milestones. And the same thing with asking questions to your audience. You want to know what they're looking for. You want to know what their pressing questions are. Ask them, what questions do you have? If you don't have an audience to ask that to, well, you can go on Google and type in, frequently asked questions in niche, whatever that niche may be. You can look at, basically just Google searching what people are commonly asking on Twitter, or even what they're asking on YouTube. Check comment sections on content, and you can see all the types of questions people have around the industry that you're in. But saying thank you is huge. When you achieve a milestone in your business, hey, we finally hit 10 clients in our business. We're super thankful. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to impacting more lives. You'd be surprised how many more people want to come and work with you now, because they see that you show appreciation for who you work for. And lastly, live streaming with guests. That's the same thing like interviewing, but different, because we're talking about going live in a group, going live on any platform that you're on. I love YouTube, for example. So if I want to go live on YouTube, I can. And then naturally I can get in front of a whole different group of audience that maybe had no idea who I am, and go from there, right? So this just gives you a lot of ideas to work with. And then naturally, if you still can't come up with something, you're creating a blockage for yourself. You have 20 ways that you can go ahead and start creating content for people. This at least gives you something to go for.
Hey, David, just
Yes.
want to interject for a moment. First off, everything you're talking about is like note to self, and I hope that everyone on this call is understanding what David is going over as well, because I know there's people here that are saying, or maybe thinking to yourself, but how do I get my services in front of more people so I can sell my services? And the thing is, he's going over it right now. And my question to everyone on this call, including myself, okay, my question to you is this: what content are you creating right now? Like things that you're learning about the services that you sell, like what content are you actually creating and putting out there so people can find you? And what should be very freeing for a lot of you, because I know everyone on this call wants more clients. Like pretty much 95% of our audience, David, they sell to local businesses. they want more clients.
Yep.
But the thing is, when you look at it from an acquisition method and a way to get instant credibility and authority, is what is out there, the content that you have out there that people will look you up and find. That is some of the most persuasive information out there. I know that is how I found you when we started working together. And I said, well, let me see what this David guy's about. And almost just like, like a rabbit hole, I just kept going deeper and deeper and just finding more information and more content. And it just kept, checking off boxes of saying, yes, this dude is qualified to help me with my unique situation. So it should be very freeing for everyone on this call that you can actually do this right now for free without spending a dime on advertising. There's a lot of people in our audience that they sell text message marketing. We call them VIP clubs. Those owners have problems. You can create content around those problems. Those owners need solutions. Those owners need things that you can actually create content-wise that will make it more persuasive to say, yes, let's work together. We got audience members on this call right now that sell text to landline services. Like, just think about the problems and the solutions that your ideal marketplace needs, and you can build content around there. And like David already talked on, he just gave you 20 plus ways. So this is something I'm raising my hand and saying, I will be creating more content, and I hope everyone else on this call, commits to doing the same. So this is good stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying you have to go out there and tell everyone your life story, right? That's the main thing. And when it comes to creating content, it's really more revolved around addressing people's problems, right? Especially when it comes to something such as text message marketing. I mean, that's something I haven't even explored on my own enough. But if someone comes along and says, here's how to utilize text message marketing to improve your follow-up by 30% for agency clients, that's hyper targeted to what I want, right? And so the same thing could be done with other industries. And you can talk about these things, and they don't have to be long form. You can make them very short, 1 to 2 minute pieces of content. How to use text message marketing to improve follow-up, how to use text messages to get more sales, how to use text messages to get more appointments. Like, there's all sorts of ways you could spin this. And then naturally, if you combine it with some case studies, some great success stories of people you've worked with, or maybe even just your own process of like how you've set it up and how it's worked for you just in the process of developing this on your own, people want to know this stuff. I just happen to mix both personal and business together because I always find a way to tie them together, whether it's how my family life has impacted my business and how business has impacted my family, and what we do to help our clients while allowing them to still have a life. We're not all about the 24/7 grind. So we work with our clients to create the ideal life they've always dreamed of by helping them grow their business. These are all things I talk about. That's why I attract certain people in my business. So when you're creating your content, you also got to think about the person you're looking to attract. What are the questions they may have? What are the results they're looking for? So on and so forth. Now, the reason why you're seeing this on your screen, the Facebook blueprint, a lot of people ignore this. When something happens where you forget how to set up something, and we're going to go through this in a moment, but every now and again, you're like, I forgot how to create a page. I forgot how to connect my Instagram to my Facebook page. I forgot how to make sure that my page is connected to my business manager. This is here for a reason. It's free. I'm not talking about anything that's too advanced or anything that helps you scale a business. This is just the bare bones basic information on how to make sure that you set up things correctly, not just for yourself, but for your clients. And whenever a client comes to you and says, hey man, how do you set up a fan page? Guess what? You send them the link and you tell them to check it out. You don't have to write it out and do it for them if you can send them a video that they can do it themselves. This is here for a reason. It's there to help you get things rolling. If you ever feel like the network is too complicated, there's a video or a breakdown for you. And leave the advanced material to a professional like myself or someone else who's run a bunch of ads over the years, because that's where you're going to get the best information. But whenever you're looking for the bare bones basic stuff, like how do I set up a page, there's a lot of information here on Facebook for you to work with. And don't forget to use it because it's quite helpful, especially for a beginner. So before we dig into the specifics of the network, like the actual inner workings of putting together an ad, a lot of you will be wondering, like, how do I set this up? How do I put the location and the gender and everything in there? it looks just like the screenshots you see on your screen, right? You plug in your location, your age, your gender, your language. Your detailed targeting is your interests or your behaviors. And then you have your placements. Placements are where your ads are going to be showed, right? Feeds, instant articles, Instagram. Are they going to be in Messenger, their audience network? There's all sorts of places that your ads can be shoveled upon so that you're put in front of the right person at the right time for whatever it is you plan on promoting. Now, I mentioned earlier custom audiences and lookalikes and all this, and we'll talk about this in more depth at some point, but this is the part where most people that have this data forget to do at a more extensive level. If you have custom audiences to work with, such as these lists that you're getting, or maybe you have your own emails or phone numbers from the business you've done in the past, that's the customer file. That's what you're loading as a customer file. If you're someone who's run traffic for a while, you've understood how to install your pixel, you've been running ads on multiple networks, you're going to go to a place called website traffic. You're going to create an audience of your visitors and your leads and people who've maybe booked calls with you. That's where you would go to create those audiences. But the engagement audience is the one that everyone forgets to create. And on the right side, when you click on engagement, you see things such as video, lead form, Facebook page, Instagram. This is where you're able to create audiences based upon the videos you've deployed. People who've watched your videos 3 seconds of the way, 25% of the way, all the way to 90% of the way through, 95% of the way through. Lead forms. If you ever decide to use lead forms on Facebook, basically capturing information without ever leaving the website, you can create audiences based on those who've opened the form, those who've submitted the form, those people who've maybe started the form but didn't finish it. Once again, the more audiences you're able to create, the better. And then same thing with Facebook and Instagram. You can create a audience of all the people who've engaged with your content, all the people who have clicked a call to action, messaged your page. The more data you have, the better, the more audiences you can create. Yes, you can create lookalikes of all this stuff too. That's what makes it so powerful, right? And I love to create engagement audiences of both Facebook and Instagram, because what I often find is that these audiences are some of the best audiences when it comes to lookalikes, right? These are people who've already clicked on something or messaged you or engaged with something that you've put out there, and you're essentially telling Facebook, I want more people like that. So please get me more of those people. And so make sure you're putting these audiences together when you're creating your ads, because maybe you don't have interests or behaviors to work with. This is what you would start with, are these lookalikes and custom audiences. So without further ado, I'm actually going to do a quick little walkthrough of setting up an ad. If you've never set up an ad before, I'm going to walk through every little detail of putting it together, so that way you know exactly what to do. Okay. So really quick, you still see my screen here. You should see my window with a nice little handy dandy ad account open. Now, Jason has been so kind to supply a nice ad that we will be doing here in a moment. Right now, we're going to walk through setting up a conversion ad. Now, I like to set up conversion ads because essentially this is Facebook's way of optimizing for a lead or an appointment or someone scheduling a call with you, so on and so forth. As he's walked you through how to set up your pixels, this is how you're able to set up the conversion campaign. And I'll walk through the other conversion types in a moment. So when you click on the create button in your account, Facebook gives you the ability to choose what it is that you're looking for, okay? Do you want to create awareness, consideration, or conversion campaigns? I oftentimes am using conversions because, like I said, I'm optimizing for leads or appointments or getting someone on my contact form, but others might decide traffic or engagement. Those are oftentimes the two other ones that they would start with, and then video views as well. Lead form is under lead generation, so keep that in mind. If you decide you don't want to have a landing page, you rather just capture information directly on Facebook, that's what you would use is called lead generation. But traffic and engagement are interesting because engagement is essentially ads that you're creating that could influence a click, but what you're really doing is putting ads in front of people to generate likes, comments, and shares. That can be important if you're just trying to build awareness and attention around your brand, so that more people see what it is you're putting out there. But it may not be something you would use to generate traffic. Now, for those of you who are like, yeah, but I want traffic and conversions. Well, here's the weird thing. You can use the traffic objective and it can generate you a lot of traffic, but sometimes it doesn't lead to conversions. What we have found is that the traffic objective, the whole purpose of it is that it sends your ads to people who are very click happy on the network. Very click happy, meaning you will have tremendous click-through rates. You will have amazing cost per click. You're like, wow, I'm paying 20 cents, 30 cents a click. This is awesome. But then you'll look at your conversions and go, why is no one booking calls? Why is no one opting in? Now, does this happen all the time? No, but it happens often. You're getting a lot of people who are very click happy. Facebook's optimizing for traffic, right? It's just trying to generate as many people as possible to your site. But that doesn't mean that they're driving people to your site that have the highest probability of turning into a lead, appointment, or anything like that. That's why we oftentimes start with conversion. But you need to make sure your pixels are in place, or else you can't track the conversion campaign correctly. So I just wanted to put that out there really quick. And for those of you wondering about video views, look at it as engagement, but it's solely for the purpose of generating more views to your video. Can it get clicks? Yes. Can it get engagement? Yes. But once again, I like to make it to where if my sole goal is to get a lot of video viewers, I use video views. If I want a lot of engagement on ads, I go to engagement. If I want a ton of traffic, but I'm not too enthused with trying to get conversions right now, I just want people to see my stuff, I click traffic. If I want leads, conversions, right? It's very straight and to the point. So we click on continue, and it opens up this window. So this window is where you're filling in the blanks, right? I have a conversion campaign. Maybe you're someone who wants to put a spend limit. I don't want to spend more than $100 in the month, or I only want to spend $1,000 in the month, and that's it. This is where you would put that limit. You put it in there, and you make sure that once that budget's hit, everything stops. That's the whole purpose of using this limit. It's per campaign, not for the account, per campaign. So keep that in mind. Don't worry about A/B test. Once you become a more advanced user, you could use this, but essentially this would allow you to test multiple ads and multiple iterations of a campaign, and you set it up once and you just let it go. It's basically set and forget, but we're going to skip that in this point. Now, campaign budget optimization, also known as CBO. A lot of people use it these days. I love using CBO. Essentially what you're doing is you're setting a budget for the entire campaign. So remember I mentioned up here, campaign spending limit, that's for the month basically, or for the next couple weeks, however long you're running the campaign. But this is where you're setting up what you're going to spend per day or over the course of a lifetime of a campaign. I typically am using daily budget. So let's say we're going to do $25 a day. And then that's it. If you wanted to do for, let's say, a lifetime of a campaign, you could set it to, let's just say $700. And then you would just determine how long that campaign's running. But for this example, we'll just do daily and we'll set this to 25. Now keep in mind, this is for the whole campaign. So if you use too many audiences or too many ads, it has to split apart that $25 a day budget to everything in the campaign. I typically put 4 audiences in a campaign, and I don't like to put more than 3 ads per audience, and I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment. So $25 a day, lowest cost. If you ever decide you want to try something a little more advanced, you could set what's called a cost cap or a bid cap. In this example, we're going to set to lowest cost. The only time you would ever use these other options, which are considered manual bidding, is when you have higher budgets to use and you have a lot of conversion data. Otherwise, you're always going to stick with lowest cost. Okay, now we're going to click on next, and it's going to take us to the ad set. Remember to label your campaign and your ad set being the audience you're going to target, so that you know what it is you're going after. So in this case, let's say the audience is going to be small business owners, right? So I can go small business owners. And you can see on the left side, it automatically updates. The conversion event is a website, obviously a lead, right? You got the conversion pixel in place. So we know that we're going to generate a lead here. Obviously start date. I like to start things the following day, unless I'm setting up ads in the morning, then I would just launch at the same time. But because it's later in the afternoon, I would just set this to the next day. I like to start things based on Eastern time at about 5 a.m. because you need to give Facebook about an hour for things to really kick in. And then this is where you're setting up your audience information, right? So you got custom audiences and lookalikes you plug in up here. You have your location, age. We talked about primarily most business owners, actually a lot of business owners are quite young these days, so you can set 28 and over. Right, you can see it adjusts on the right side. It adjusts the audience size, and then gender we'll leave as both. Now, I like to turn off detailed expansion. I often find that sometimes Facebook promotes my stuff to the wrong people when I use that option, so that's why I take that away. Now, we talked about small business owners as a behavior, so let me show you what I mean. You can see here we have small business owners as a behavior, so it's people who list themselves as business owners or have small business pages on Facebook. But we also have people who put that in their employer section. We have people who are interested in being a small business owner. We have people who put that as a job title. You can see this one's even tagged with a profession. And then you can even go after people who have business pages, or if a demographic, this is the business industry as an example, right? So in this case, we're going to go after the behavior of small business owners. And you can see for the whole US, that's still 4.7 million people over the age of 28, men and women in the US. If we changed it as an example to a state, let's just say I'm just going to keep using my home state, so the state of Florida, it's telling us that there's 410,000 business owners, at least people who identify as that, over the age of 28 that I could target, right? So you can make this more specific, or you can keep it in this case. And I mentioned if you wanted to make it a little more detailed, you would click on narrow audience, and then let's say you want to go after an industry, you click on demographics, and we go to, let's see here, we go to work. And if you want to do job titles, you can just type in job titles, same thing with employers, or you can go to industries, and let's say I want to go after people who are in the healthcare space. I can click on healthcare and medical services, and what it'll do is now it's telling me that in the state of Florida, that people who identify as business owners that are also in the healthcare and medical services space, 7,000 people, right? That's it. If I set this to the US, it would make this larger. If I put more states, it makes it larger, right? So if you want to add more industries, you can. But if I wanted to have an ad that's specifically for this industry, I can do that. If I want to, let's say, target people in the food and restaurant space, I would click on food and restaurant. I can see 5,100 people who are on Facebook who say they're a small business owner who also are in the food and restaurant space, right? So that's just an example of how you can narrow things down. If you'd rather just go after all business owners, you just remove that and you just put in the location and it tells you the size of the audience on the top right. Now, placements, we talked about this. Most of the time it's set to automatic, and if it's set to automatic, keep this in mind. If you want to do a video ad to go to all placements, Facebook and Instagram, the video needs to be 60 seconds or less. If it's more than 60 seconds, it can't be on Instagram anyway. So keep that in mind. So let's say in this case, we're going to use image ads. So I'm going to take away audience network because typically I don't see great results on the audience network. And we're going to take the marketplace. I'm not running a video. If you want to run right-hand column, you can. Sometimes I don't. In this case, we'll leave it. Instagram Explorer is fine. I'm not going to run any stories. If I'm going to do a story ad, it needs to be more of a vertical style ad. Also, it only runs for about 15 seconds. So keep that in mind. It's a great placement to use if you are generating business from Instagram. So search results, I'll leave it. Instant articles, I'll leave it because it's an image. Other than that, we're good. Now, this is optional to you, but you do have the option of only targeting people when they're on Wi-Fi. And the reason for that is the thought process is, ever since they allowed this option, if you allow people to see your ad who are on Wi-Fi, that's typically people who are at coffee shops, libraries, home. Most people at home are using Wi-Fi. So you'd want to select this option because you would know they're not really doing too much. Maybe they're at work, right? They could be their workplace with a Wi-Fi connection, but you're only targeting them when they're on Wi-Fi, which means they're planted, they're not going anywhere. And so you might want to select this option, but it's also worth testing without it as well. I like to use it because if I want to go after business owners, I want to target them when they're in a place, not moving around. I don't want them when they're sitting in their car to be looking at my ad because there's a chance they're not going to remember it when they have to drive again or go off somewhere else. So that's often why I select this option. And then down here, because it's not a video, you don't have to worry about this. But with a video, sometimes you don't want your video ads to show during a live stream or an in-stream type of thing. You can actually select it to not play during live streams or in-streams. And then this would be set to conversion. and that's it. So now we click on next. So it's going to populate your page. Make sure you select the page that you're going to use to promote this content. If you have an Instagram, you would select on the Instagram page. If you don't, it'll just create a page for you in a way, but it's not a page you can access. It just represents a page, so it'll just show as, you know, Bell Media Group in this example. And then this is the ad setup location. Dynamic, for those of you who are curious, is when you can set up multiple ads that Facebook will rotate for you. So if you put 5 images and 5 pieces of copy, it'll rotate all the variations for you. The problem with this is that when something is working, you can't shut off the other variations. It'll run more budget to that variation that's working, but you can't turn off the other ones. It's great for testing, but not necessarily scaling. So keep that in mind. I like to keep it off. I like to do individual ads on my own. I do my own testing. Most people are going to select single image or video. If you use a carousel that's multiple images or video, this is great for testimonials. So if you wanted to showcase like 3 or 4 testimonials at once, you would use a carousel. Collection I primarily use for e-commerce, but it's very similar to a carousel, just more in a like a storyboard format. It looks great on mobile, but once again, not used that often, other than you're getting a large amount of mobile traffic, which Facebook's going to be primarily that. It's just it doesn't work nearly as well as I see in spaces outside of e-commerce. Now, this is where you're setting up your ad, right? You have your copy, primary text, which is above the image or video, your headline, which is below, the description. They're actually going to start phasing this out, so you don't have to worry about it. And then your site URL and the display. So we'll set up an example here. So we're going to take a headline, and then we're going to take some copy. And by the way, for anyone who's curious why it's not populating, until you put a site URL, it's not going to populate at all, right? So in this case, I'm just going to plug in my own URL just to make it easy so we can see what it looks like. All right, just for this example. And then what will happen is we need to go to the image. You can also upload video, but in this example, we're going to do image, right? Go to here. All right, so it populates your image, and then you select on the image. What it does now is it can enhance it for you. So Facebook will say, oh, okay, it doesn't quite fit in its current dimensions. We'll automatically enhance it for you for both horizontal and square. If you want that, if you don't, you can just unselect. Maybe you only want to do it for square, but then you'll see what it looks like. So when you do enhancement, it'll automatically fit it for you. So you can click on done. Boom, there you go. Then let's adjust this text really quick. So the great thing is if you ever want to see what your ad looks like, of course it looks really small here, but you can see like my text is a little jumbled apart. So the great thing in doing that is all I have to do is go here and I can fix it to make sure everything looks good. And then every time you make a change, it automatically repopulates over here. So that's why you want to make sure that before you launch anything, you just keep double checking what the text looks like, make sure it's uniform, easy to read. Sometimes if you want to make it very easy, most people will do 1 sentence a line. So for example, you can just, let's see if we can find one here. Like for example, you would leave the top sentence the way it is, and you'd put it like that. So every sentence is on its own line. It just makes it easier to read, but it does also make your ad look way longer. So keep that in mind. If you want to view it on another platform, you can click on the one to the right. So this is Instagram. You can click more, but then you can't view anything beyond that point, right? But it just shows you what the ad looks like, right? So this will be in the news feed, Instagram Explorer, instant article, right? So you can see what it looks like on multiple platforms. And then as you plug in all this data, your call to action is essentially just whatever button you want it to be. I like to use learn more. If it was a downloadable thing, you'd click download. If it's an application or a booking page, you'd apply now, book now, contact us. And also keep in mind for this display URL, it's very different from your website URL. So some people have a landing page in their website URL, and then in their display link, they might just put the shorter version of that, such as like just the main site. And then when they click the ad, it just takes them to the landing page. It's just a lot cleaner to read. And then you leave this blank. If your tracking is in place, it'll show as green. And then once you click publish, this entire ad will deploy onto the network. If you want to do more than one ad, like I typically would do, you would do this, right? So I would call this image one, and then C1. C1 is the copy variation. We're only using one copy here, so I'm going to put C1. And then what I would do is I would duplicate, and I would change the copies to 2. And because I left everything in the same campaign, you could see on the left side, it keeps it all in the same audience here. So instead of having to recreate this by hand, all I have to do now is just change this to image 2, right? Now I can go back down.
That's a good looking ad too, man. But I didn't know about the copy thing. Awesome.
Hey, you put it together. So
Okay.
now we can change the image, right? But what we're doing here is basically keeping the audience the same. We're going to test multiple ads with the same copy to the audience. And then what this will allow us to do is see which image performs better with this audience. And then you can do another variation of this, which I'll show you in a moment, where you can do a different piece of copy with the same audience, right? So once again, this will be image 3, C1, so it's copy 1. Go back down here, change, upload. I'm about to show you guys how you can do this really quickly, right? So once you do this the first time, it makes it very easy to duplicate over and over, right? So now we got all the ads, right? We got 3 images, but the same copy, right? And if you wanted to deploy this the way it is, awesome, you can do that. But here's how you can test more than one piece of copy with the images. So we just showed here that this is, we're running copy number 1 in here, right? But let's say we want to target the same audience. Here's how you classify. It's everything the same. The ads are already here. You've already set it up one time. So now, let's say I want to target the same people, but do another piece of copy, but keep the same images. C2. Now we're in here. We're looking at the same ads. Everything's the same, but we're going to change the copy. I can highlight all these at the same time. And all I have to do is just grab my next piece of copy, and I could paste it right in. And now I've just set up 3 more ads with a different piece of copy. And I just want to do this, make sure that I know it's copy number 2. Right, so C2, C2, and C2. So basically what I've just done is this all under one campaign. My $25 a day is going to be split up amongst the same audience, but one audience will have all of copy 1, one audience will have all of copy 2. What this ends up doing is Facebook takes the budget, it splits it amongst these 6 ads and 2 audiences, and the hope is that over some time, at $25 a day, you got to let it run for about 3 days, is that it starts to find which individual ad is the one that's going to generate you the results you're looking for. Because with a CBO, or a campaign budget optimized ad, it's going to eventually process the budget to whichever ad generates the results you're looking for. So if this is optimizing for a conversion, a lead in this case, a demo lead, it'll find the ad that generates the lead, and then it starts to move more budget towards that ad so that, well, you generate more leads. And so this is like the set and forget way of not having to think about it. And the other way of setting up ads is called ad budgets. And for anyone who wants to take it to that route, if you have a larger budget, all you have to do is when you're setting up your campaign, just turn this off. And when you turn this option off, you'll actually be able to set individual budgets for each audience. So if I wanted to make both of these $25 a day, that means I'd spend $50 a day, but it's $25 to each audience. And most of the time, you would take this route if you have multiple pieces of copy and multiple audiences you're going to target all at once. That way you can test things a lot more aggressively and eventually find what's working. But if you're someone who has a lower budget to spend, you want to use a campaign budget optimized campaign, and you do it the way that I'm showing you here, where that way you could test multiple variations of copy, you're testing multiple images, but it's all under one location, so you can make sure the budget's utilized to its fullest potential. And then all you have to do is click on the button in the top right, and you click publish, and the campaign goes live. And now you just wait for the ad approval process.
Dude, I missed about the last 30 seconds of what you did. My computer would not let me unmute it. I don't know if it was the same for other people, but I was going to tell you, thank you for, see, you don't even know this, but you did pretty much all of the work for the 3 ads that I'm going to launch. I'm launching those exact ads that you just built in my campaign. So for that, I thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that this is already in your account. If all I did was just change the URL and click publish, like everything's there for you. So you're welcome. But it's all very easy. Like once you write your copy in advance, and I highly suggest this for everyone, write your copy in advance, get your images or video in advance, because then when you're setting this up, this process took 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The research is what takes the time. The creating the copy takes the time. The creating of the video takes time. The setup should not take that much time. The setup's the easy part, right? So make sure that you have everything ready to go. Then once you set this up, it's the easiest part of the whole process. And this is where most people overcomplicate it, and that's when they start to freak out and they don't know what to do. This is actually the easy part. So make sure you have everything mapped out ahead of time, and then you can just plug it all in, click publish, and let Facebook do the rest.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, man. So really quick, I know you still got more. The ads that you just seen David go over as far as the copy and the actual images, for the instant client challengers, the people that access the VIP upgrade, I told you I'll be providing the actual ads and the ad copy and the creatives. So that is what you will get inside your course. So they're actually inside of that upgrade, the VIP upgrade right now. So check those out, okay?
Awesome. So yeah, and of course, if there's any other questions you all would like to have me answer for you real quick, now is the time. And if you guys wanted to connect any further, just so you all could see my info, if you ever want to follow me anywhere, this is where you can find me, right? I'm on social all the time. So if you need to, connect with me in any way, this is where you could find me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, I got a fan page too. So this is where you could find me. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you right now.
Well, David, first off, man, thank you. Like this was an hour and a half of just pure gold, man. And I can't thank you enough. I know a lot of people that are watching this. I'm sure they got great value as well. So this is really content that you're getting that normally people would pay for. So please give David a digital hand clap. And if you see him on the internet, just give him a good word. Just because he's delivering great value. And this is someone that, as you can tell, knows what he is doing through and through. So this is solid stuff. And I do see a couple of questions coming in. Are you able to see the question box too, David?
Yep, I'll go one by one through them right now.
Okay, let me see.
So let's see. So can you make Facebook ads make sense for a product that costs $59? I mean, you can. One of my clients right now sells a $47 product, and we send traffic straight to a sales page and it converts every day. Now, the lower the ticket on the product, the more difficult it becomes, because unless your ad just converts from day one, you're basically looking at a low ticket product as a loss leader, right? So what is it going to lead to next? Is it going to generate recurring revenue, meaning maybe you take the loss in month one and then month two is when you're making your money? Or is there a deeper funnel where maybe you're selling 2 or 3 other products? That's the thing to keep in mind when you're selling something that's low ticket. And by low ticket, I mean basically anything that's less than $200. And then let's see, what else we got here? Is it against Facebook's terms of service to use scrape data? I'm pretty sure we went through that, but yes, just make sure you do what we talked about earlier and you should be okay. Now, if you found a list and you want to create lookalikes, to me, finding a list is the same thing as scraping a list, right? How'd you find it? Was it on Google? Was it sent to you? Like you don't know where it came from. So just make sure that whatever list you're using, if it's not your original data, find a way to make sure it doesn't look like the way it showed up on your desk or in your email. With regards to long form written content, is this a post that you turn into an ad with lots of text on it? Yes. Lots of text. It might have a video with it, or at least an image or 2 or 3 images to go with it. And the whole purpose is to get readers all the way through from beginning to end, because those people tend to be some of the best quality people because they're reading everything. How long should text be in the ad itself? I mean, that's a difficult question to answer, and Jason probably agree with me here. We've seen ads work with 1 or 2 sentences in it, and we've seen ads work where it's 2,000 words, right? The only way to know is to test different variety of lengths. I like to create a short ad, a medium, sort of, maybe like a couple paragraphs, and then a long form ad, because sometimes in various audiences, the medium one might work better than the short one, or the short one might perform better than the long one. Like you don't know until you try a couple of versions. And personally, I like to create what I call the medium form, which is about 3 to 5 paragraphs. And remember, on Facebook, 3 to 5 paragraphs could literally be 3 to 5 sentences, because every sentence is spaced. It's just how detailed is that sentence. So keep that in mind.
Hey, David, before
Yes.
we continue here, because I know what tends to happen is when I usually go longer than an hour and a half, GoToWebinar starts acting up. So before that happens, I know you had mentioned you created something brand new for Facebook and people that want to ascend higher and learn it through and through. So where could they get that info from about your new course? Because I don't even know about it in detail other than you created something new. So I just want to get that out of the way before we start getting into more questions and if something happens funky with GoToWebinar.
All good. So I created basically the only course I've ever put out there called Clicks Conversions Clients. So it's clicksconversionsclients.com. The whole intention of the course is to give you the entire breakdown of everything I know about ads from beginning to end. Beginner information, intermediate, all the way to advanced. Everything from starting your first campaign to growing the campaigns to scaling the campaigns and even your business with Facebook and Instagram ads. It's a very detailed, heavy course that will walk you through the process. So you can go through the first couple modules, get an idea of what campaigns to build, and then as you go through those modules and develop those campaigns, the information continues to evolve with your style of advertising. So if you're a newbie, the first couple modules take care of you. And then as you become more advanced with Facebook and Instagram and you start to scale your campaigns, well, we got modules in there to scale, and it shows you exactly what to do when you're ready to scale at higher budgets. So the whole intention is to help you get clicks, conversions, and clients, which is why it's named that way. And so if you're able to, take the time out and see if it's something for you, I actually put something together special for everyone here. If you are looking to invest in your business and in your future in regards to the ad platform, you can use the coupon code FRIENDS and it'll give you $300 off. And it's not offered anywhere. I don't offer this anywhere else at that price point. So that coupon code will give you one steep discount. And Jason knows I charge high ticket for a lot of stuff. So, this is my way of saying thank you all for listening to me talk for an hour and a half, and hopefully you got some value out of it. And, I hope to see you all in the membership as well.
That is awesome. Thank you, David. And just so I have it right, is it clicksconversionsclients.com?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to put that in the chat box now. And I might actually pick this up, man, because I know you know your stuff. So, and then you said the coupon code is what?
Friends.
Okay.
FRIENDS.
Case sensitive, or does it matter?
If you put it all uppercase, you're good. It'll go through.
Okay. All right. So I just put in the chat box for those who want to check it out. And David, let me know if that's the right place there, because it had like /F/course/live.
Yeah, that's the current live page for everyone who's looking to get more detail around the course. Everything's there. Every module that's laid out, every single thing that's going to be inside is laid out on that page. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, good stuff, man. All right, I just want to get that out the way just in case something breaks and it's like we didn't give you a shout out to your course. So
All good.
all right, let's get back into questions, and I'm sure that course is pure gold. I'm gonna pick it up after we're done with this call
Appreciate it,
today.
man.
Yeah,
So let's
man.
see here. So what's considered a good rate for conversion? Also a very open-ended question, because if you're doing opt-ins, like if you're just trying to get leads, 20% and above. If you're trying to get, let's say, purchases on an e-com store, 3% or higher is awesome, right? So it depends on what it is that you're promoting. If it's something like turning leads to applications, we see 5 to 10% of leads turn to applications, right? And in terms of how many applications turn into calls, 80%, right? So the conversion rates will vary based upon what the metric is you're trying to achieve. So what makes a post an ad? Let's say you put up a post on your fan page or your business page, you can convert it to an ad by selecting the post that you've put up on your fan page or your Instagram profile. And when you're in your ads manager, if you select that post and you put $10 behind it, your post basically converts to an ad. But the great thing is the post stays on that page or profile. So it's not like it goes anywhere, but now that you put money behind it, Facebook considers it an ad. Oh, this is an interesting question. So how long do you think it took you to become an expert on how others describe you? 7 years. That's how long it took me, was 7 years. But I also got started when the network had no experts. So you have to remember, like, my 7-year mark was about 2014. I was not called an expert until around 2013, 2014 by somebody, a friend of mine. They put me on a webinar and called me an expert. And that was the first time I heard someone say that to me. But that was because I was already 7 years in. Nowadays, it seems like you could be an expert in a year. But the only reason why I would ever allow or even be okay with being called an expert is because of the time and energy I've put into this industry and the amount of money I've spent to get to this point. If you've only spent $10,000 and you're calling yourself an expert, you're far from it. You haven't done the work yet. I don't even like to say that if you spent $100,000, you're an expert. I wasn't called an expert till I already spent probably $2 or $3 million. So it's all based on preference. Hey, you could brand yourself as an expert and that's fine. But I did not feel like an expert until I surpassed at least the $1 million in ad spend mark, personally. I'm also someone who's a little more intense in business than most people. So just something to keep in mind. What do you feel became your best asset in developing yourself to that level? A lot of self-mastery and personal development, because I have a lot of self-doubt issues. And that's just being honest. I had a lot of days where I woke up feeling like a fraud. I'm sure a lot of business people feel that way. So when you're digging into putting yourself out there for people and putting out content around obstacles people are experiencing in their business, you probably experience those same obstacles too. That's why I talk about these things, because I want to show people the real me. So remember, if you're saying you're an expert and you don't feel that way, you're going to have a lot of mixed messaging. That's why I said I didn't even feel comfortable in being called that until I spent enough money to feel that way. If I was putting out that I am an expert, I am the best, I am that, and I don't actually feel that way, it wouldn't come off the right way in my copy. It wouldn't come off the right way in my content.
And I think also too, there's an underlying theme that I want everyone to understand is that, David did not start with Facebook and then 2 days later he is trying to be a real estate guru, and then a month later he's flipping homes on Airbnb and he has a course on that, and then after that, he has this Amazon FBA thing. Like the key theme is focus. All right, like he hasn't deviated from what his main thing is, and that's what I tell a lot of our members, David, is that you have to allow yourself enough time to live in it to see it through. That is the challenges, the struggles, the good, the bad. And over time, you're going to continue to gain a level of competence about you. And the more competence and educated you are about your field, the more confident you're going to feel, right? You don't have to march around on Facebook and purport yourself as an expert. But here's the reality, just taking it down a level to where there may be some people on this call that don't even have a client. I can guarantee you what we covered today, more than 90% of the small business owners who don't even know what Facebook advertising is, or wouldn't even know how to boost a post, right?
Yep.
So from that standpoint, whatever level you're at, that's what you can share. And where you're at as far as that level, it will resonate with certain people, right? So
Yep.
don't feel like you cannot offer value, because you can, okay? But the core theme is focus. Like, allow yourself time to get good.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly. And for anyone who wants a copy of the slides, don't worry. I'm gonna send them to Jason, so you got them, so you're good. There was a couple
Awesome.
people asking on that. What's the lowest price point product that you have made Facebook ads make financial sense? $7. I actually have had a $7 product convert at $7, and then I let the back end make all the money. Remember, it's not about one product at $10. It's gonna make you rich. Like that's not how this works. Low cost products typically are lost leaders. They bring people into your ecosystem so that you could sell them things that are higher end. If you only have a $10 product, it's going to be very tough to make a lot of money unless your purchase cost is, let's say, $2 or $3, because then you also got to factor in cost of goods sold, and then, you know, shipping and all these other things. Even if it's digital, if you're not getting a sale for less than $10, I mean, even if it's $9, you got to sell 100,000 units to make $100,000. That's a lot. So
Yeah.
if you're going with low ticket, I mean, everyone uses sevens, right? 7, 17, 27, 47. I mean, the lowest ticket item that I've ever sold was like 20, maybe like 27, where it was still making us money on the front end, meaning I was selling that $27 product and being very, very profitable. That was the lowest ticket item. Everything below that was either break even or losing money. Even the $7 item was like barely at 7. It was $6.90 a sale, $7 a sale. But there were plenty of days where we couldn't get a $7 sale at $7. We were losing money. So kind of gives you an idea. You have to test things out. A lot of testing, to be honest. Replay, that's on Jason. I'm sure he's going to send out a replay. Let's see. What are the best niches to target who need Facebook ads? That's a very broad question too, because you could target almost anything. You really could. I mean, that small business owner behavior goes after everybody, right? So I often see chiropractic, dentists, realtors, lawyers, any doctor really, anyone that's a doctor. You can go after surgeons, even cardiologists. You can go after marketing agencies of all types, right? SEOs, Facebook ads, general advertising. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I've even found people in like the restoration space, pest control, landscaping, things of that nature through Facebook. But keep in mind, I like to go after high value, high dollar spaces. If I'm going after e-commerce, I'm typically working with business owners who are already doing, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a month in sales. So my messaging is broad because I'm really just trying to attract a business owner. I don't care what the industry is. I'm looking for a business owner. If you want a specific industry, you can actually go into the industry section of Facebook and dig around and see what they populate, right? You saw they had healthcare in there, business and finance, sales, like they could put you in front of a lot of people. And then you just got to narrow it down. You know, I only want the small business owners in this group. I only want the people who classify as a CEO or a partner or something along those lines. Oh, here we go. So you mentioned accepting more than friends and family. Were you referencing fan page or personal page? I was referencing personal. Fan page is people who are following you from the advertising that you do on the platform, both Instagram and Facebook. On your personal page, I mean, Jason and I have made business come together from our personal profiles because more people are going to interact on your profile than your fan page. The fan page is used for ads. Your profile is like an extension of your fan page. You don't want to be selling all the time on your profile, but for those of you who ever want to see what it's like to somewhat sell and be personable on Facebook, just go to my profile and you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't talk about business all the time, but when I talk business, people pay attention. So I make it so that it's some personal content, you know, things with my family. I talk about, you know, Apple and some of the stuff I'm doing with Apple, and I talk about investing and all, and then all of a sudden I'll drop one post about Facebook ads, and next thing you know, I have 3, 4 people who are asking me about, can they help me with ads? You know, can you help me with ads? Right? So I mix it up. But because I don't just add people who are my friends, people are also adding me. I mean, I'm sure some of you have already sent me friend requests. Like, I don't know you. So when you see my stuff, I want you to come to my profile and go, wow, this guy puts out awesome stuff, because he's not just talking about politics or just Facebook ads or just whatever. It's a mixed bag. And then all of a sudden I drop a case study and you want to work with me, right? So remember, when you're using your profile for business, you want to mix it up.
That's pure gold. I recommend everyone, like, do it right now. Just go check out his page. He does a really, really great job of everything he's saying. Like, he actually practices what he preaches.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever send an ad to a bot and not a landing page? All the time. Just bots are not easy to set up. Since Facebook's removing the pixel, what are your thoughts on the replacement? It's called the conversion API. There's not much data on it. There's not a lot of setup on it. I don't care that they're removing it, because conversion API is a pixel. It's essentially a new way of tracking. It's going to be done through a server. When that information is available, I'm sure I'm going to be asked to come back and talk about it. But right now, there's not a lot of info on it. There's not a lot of people who've been able to move over to it, mainly just because it's not easy. It's not easy to use yet. When Facebook makes it easy, then we'll all know how to use it. But for now, they delayed the launch on using it because it's too difficult. It's just too difficult to use. But imagine this. It's essentially tracking with a pixel, but just done on a server. That's their way of getting around browsers blocking you or phone apps blocking you. If you use it on a server, they can't block the server. That's the reason why they're going to be moving things from the pixel, that the way it is now, to using the conversion API. More on that later. Let's see. Has the 20% text rule for text on images been removed? And does more text on ads usually work best? So even though it's been removed, meaning like Facebook doesn't penalize you, that's not true. The more text you have on the images, the more they charge you to showcase your ads on the network. So they said, oh, we don't penalize you for those ads, meaning like we'll let you launch them, but you'll notice that your cost per impression is higher with more text in your images. So even though they don't quote unquote penalize you like they used to, which was they would just straight up reject your ads, now they'll let you launch the ads and just charge you more. That's how they finesse you.
And I did not know that, so that's good to know.
Let's see. Oh, thank you all for I'm reading a bunch of compliments now. I appreciate that. Link is where Jason posted it. For all of you who said, show me the link, send me the link, and you put the link, it's there. It's all there. Let's see here. Hey, Doug, nice to see you again. Can you share a link? It's all there. Man, there's a lot of people asking for that link.
Link. Go
it's
by.
There.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Is it true that being active and posting content to your Facebook page twice a day will increase your organic reach? Organic reach is non-existent these days on Facebook pages. What I like to do is I post content on my page. This wasn't in the presentation. I post content on my page and I run $1 a day to my content, and that's it, $1. And I let it just rotate. And how do you do that? I just showed you guys how to put multiple pieces of content in one ad set. I put all of my content in one ad set and I let it run for $1 a day. And what that does is it just rotates my content all throughout whoever I'm targeting, and it never shows you the same thing more than once or twice a day. So you could put 20 pieces of content in there for $1 and just let it go. But here's the great thing about doing that. You then find out the ad that's actually, or the post that's actually getting attention, and you can cut off all the other ones that aren't getting attention and just run that $1 to that one post or 2 posts or 3 posts.
That is gold. That is pure gold, man. Huh. So that's your approach. I love it.
That's how you can use pages to build growth, right? So someone lands on your page and they're like, wow, this post has 50 likes and 10 comments, and this one has 20 likes. It looks like it's an engaging page. You're just running $1 a day. You could do this at $5 a day too. It's not a lot of money, right? 150 a month, rotating all your content. It's just $5. You're just funneling all the content under one audience and just letting Facebook do the rest.
That's so good, man. Thank you.
Specific location targeting like a stadium. Yeah, you could, John, you could target a stadium. You could target a hotel. You could target your apartment complex. You can do whatever you want. Just find the address and put a circle around it and set the radius. You could target everyone in the area. It's kind of creepy, but it's also pretty cool at the same time. Do you recommend boosting a post? No, boosting posts is a waste of money. It's not the same as setting up an ad in Ads Manager. Very different. Ads Manager gives you more targeting options, more opportunity to pick and choose who you target. Boosting is basically saying, hey, Facebook, take my money, thank you. That's it. Let's see, Facebook costs have gone down after the elections. They've gone down a little bit, but not a lot. Facebook will be cheaper in January. You don't have to hold me to it. That's just from historical data. Yes, that's my actual profile for anyone who's curious. No, I don't use a second profile for business and personal and all. No, I have one profile. That's my profile. It's the only one that I promote because it's the one with the blue check on it. That's it. That's me. Do you keep yourself updated with ads policies? I read the ads policy at least once a week, every week, and I've done that for 6 years. Why? Because it's my job. Explain the rotating content ad again, please. Okay, so you create an ad set or an audience, and every post you create, you put in the same audience. So if you have 5 posts, you have 5 different ads, essentially, running under one audience. And then you set that audience to $1 a day, and it will rotate the content in that audience at $1 a day. That's it.
Lovely.
Yep.
David, thank you, my friend. This was solid, amazing content. I feel a little selfish though, because I know this is for everyone on this call, and I hope you got value out of it. But if you didn't, I'm sorry, but I got a lot of value out of this call. So I'm going to be using a lot of these methods you laid out. And thank you so much for coming out again, man. And I put the link for everyone in the chat. So if you wanted to check out his course, do that. Just so everyone knows, I get 0 financial compensation from recommending David. This is a good friend, someone that I wanted to bring out, and he said he's going to deliver some amazing content, and he should have his course in here. So I hope he makes a lot of money. I hope everyone buys it. So with that said, man, any final words from you? Because otherwise, you've been just a joy to be here.
I appreciate you all for letting me talk all this craziness in front of you today. This is advertising, guys. I really hope you got a lot of value from it. And you know, if any of you have any questions around the course, or you know, not general stuff like how to set up an ad, but if you have questions around the course, or maybe you want help with a client, or maybe you have someone that is maybe too high level and you want someone else to handle it for you, like that's where you can hit me up and see if it may be a fit for us to work together. But otherwise, you can get a lot of value from following me on Facebook, primarily my profile, like I mentioned. The course has a ton in there. I'll tell you all right now, the first 8 modules alone can keep you busy. Module 9 is the holy grail. I won't even tell you what's in there, but it's the one that if you're trying to scale to some crazy numbers, that's the one that everyone talks about. So once you're in there, have a field day, go through each module, you'll see that there's a lot of good stuff in there. And you know, hopefully it benefits you all in growing your businesses.